Give us your initial takeaway from what you heard today, from both sides.
Well, I think as I experienced in the first evolution here, a year and a half ago, very civil. It's good to see people, even though they disagree on a topic, being able to kind of work together to find a resolution for it. We may not all be satisfied with the results. Definitely, half the room will be satisfied. The other half probably won't. But it's a good process. It's the one we have, and I think more than anything, we have to be patient with it.
Talk about the first witness today, and discussing again just the whole issue, the civilian weapons versus military weapons, and so on, and the importance of having semi-automatic firearms for self-defense.
Right. I think based on his 30 years in the military as a special forces officer, his extensive 30-plus year career as a law enforcement officer, including a chief of police in a large city, he was kind of speaking from experience on what he experienced both from a civilian and from a military perspective, and what was effective in different environments. And he seemed to draw a clear distinction between the two. The semi-automatic firearms, which are available to American citizens, non-military, obviously have a place in our society for lawful purposes such as self-defense. And I thought he kind of laid that out, and his experience demonstrated he's seen a lot of that.
The second witness today for the defense, what's your main takeaway from what he had to say?
I thought what was interesting was Colonel Tucker's talked about his relationship with Gunner Eby, who was here on the first day. And the gunner is a resident expert on technical matters, including firearms, small arms, in the Marine Corps. It seemed that Colonel Tucker respected his opinion and might not have agreed with it on a large scale, but I think Gunner Eby's experience at the tactical level, at the individual rifleman level, kind of spoke for itself. I think he was, I don't want to say more credible, but I think he was a more effective witness for the plaintiff side.
What do you take away from him saying that he does not recommend getting rid of fully auto in the military?
That was, I think, a point for the plaintiffs, for our side in this case. And again, if the Circuit Court of Appeals has said that these are military weapons, and we're trying to address and come up with a conclusion or decision from the judge on that, I think Colonel Tucker effectively said that, well, it's the select fire, full auto capable ones that are for military use. So the ones that we are trying to protect and trying to kind of free from the grasp of this restriction, kind of stand on their own.
So what did you think of when he was testifying, Colonel Tucker was testifying that like semi-automatic guns are what he would use or what he would see Marines use in combat?
I think he obviously has validity, and I think aim fire is obviously something that's preferable, but again, if you don't take away that option from military personnel that are doing military operations, and again, going back to Gunner Eby's experience, I know Colonel Tucker is a combat veteran. He paid the price for it. He earned a Purple Heart, obviously. But I think, again, when he talked about the variation in small unit tactics, I think there may have been many more instances of full auto fire that he didn't see that was going on in his area of responsibilities.
And another question I had too, I know like much of the testimony that has been going on these past few days has been trying to draw a distinction, right, for, at least from the plaintiff's side, between military grade weapons and then weapons that are used by civilians for self-defense. Mm-hmm. Today, the defendant, during the questioning of Stephen Watt, brought up, I think close to the end of his cross-examination, brought up, the flash suppressors and how they're more helpful for people who are trying to shoot up a dark nightclub and things like that. So I guess I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on hearing that argument slipped in today?
That may be true. An unlawful use for a firearm that's commonly used by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes can be used in a way that's egregious, in a way that's illegal. But for a homeowner, or for a business owner or a private citizen that's trying to protect their life or their family's lives or those around them, then obviously there's utility in a benign or in a favorable way as well. So it depends on the intent of the person behind the firearm.
What made you want to be a lead plaintiff in this case?
I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be. I was asked to be one, and I think I've talked about my grandfather's experience in Denmark during the occupation, the Nazi occupation, and he kind of laid it all on the line for freedom and risked the family. And when they asked me to be a named litigant, I thought about what he would have done if put in my shoes. I thought about what my late father would have done, And I thought, well, if not me, then who? So it wasn't a difficult decision, but it was one that was measured, and I don't regret it.
What
Yeah.
put you in a position to be asked? Are you a member of an organization, or
No.
were you part of?
Not really.
They didn't just look you up in the phone book.
No, I've worked with some other folks in the state, kind of on policy issues having to do with the Second Amendment. I'm a policy nerd, a poli-sci, and a government undergraduate and master's degree kind of added to that, I guess. But yeah, it wasn't really that I asked to do it, and I would have preferred not to. But when they asked me, who should I send? I thought the right answer was, send me. So.
And as a lead plaintiff, how do you feel the case is going so far?
I think it's going well, and I think I've expressed before, this is a good lesson in civics. It requires a lot of patience. Both sides of this issue, it's an emotional issue, sometimes wave their arms a lot, and I'm not that kind of guy. And so my only hope is that we remain civil, and we all work towards a common goal, which is to reduce the number of homicides and the number of killings, and we all want to see that. The question is balancing that with our individual rights and freedoms.